first thing I'm putting a bullet in. You guys are rebels now. Let's act like it.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Boys Gen V Season 2 Episode 8 finale video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. I know there are a lot of questions about the storylines they wrap up. They're pushing into the Boys Season 5. Is there going to be a Gen V Season 3? So we'll try to address that during the video. As I was actually making this video, I noticed that I don't have that many actual Boys TV shirts, but I did have a bloody Superman logo t-shirt, which feels apropos for the stuff that they're dealing with this season. The actual ending was as crazy as you would expect from the episode, from a Boys episode just in general in the Boys universe, but they also did try to leave themselves an out in case there is not a Gen V Season 3, so I'll address that when we get to that part of the video. Just starting at the beginning of the episode, we'll work our way through WTF moments and Easter eggs. The episode was titled Trojan, which is actually an ironic reference to Black Hole, the guy with the butthole dimension who Trojan horses the Scooby Gang into the Danger Room so they can stop Thomas Godolkin. He literally and metaphorically becomes a Trojan horse, and they are all going to have to take a very, very long shower after they climb out of his butt. But the actual opening scene started with the rest of the flashback from 1967 to explain how Thomas Godolkin survived the fire in the lab and how he got the upgraded powers, the more powerful version of his abilities that he has in present day. It was all because he rolled the dice on the upgraded Compound V serum that had just killed all his fellow researchers and reveals that it both scarred his skin in the way that Deadpool's appearance was actually caused by the process of unlocking his X gene. It was basically a Deadpool kind of situation where his skin started to bubble over the more he used his abilities, which also happened in present day too, like you started to see his skin bubbling over again. So both the serum itself upgrading his powers started to mess up his skin, then the fire did him double whammy, like he really got it. But the big reveal here is meant to show that he's always been a Compound V superhero. He always had powers, but they were just way weaker before this. It was the same idea with all of his fellow researchers that died. They already had Compound V powers, and the serum was meant to bring those out, take them to God-level powers. Back in present day, Doug Brightbill tells them the same thing. The reason why Marie healed him, he still looks young, is because his original Compound V powers, which he calls Compound V1. V1, the original pure Compound V, which is why all superheroes age so slowly. Technically, they do still age, just incredibly slowly. And if it wasn't clear from the episode, Thomas Godolkin was meant to be the lead researcher with Friedrich Vought, and they developed that Compound V serum, the original one that Stormfront took. They tested on her. She was like the first test subject way back in Nazi Germany. Which is also why there's a lot of talk coming from him in this episode where he's giving off a lot of Nazi vibes, like Nazi ideology. Doug also reveals the rest of Thomas Godolkin's backstory that's been missing. He's the second meat puppet that Godolkin used because the original one died, which he forced him to do after he took over his body. It was Dr. Fielder, probably because that doctor was someone that was also working at the lab nearby where he used his powers in his upgraded effect to rescue himself from the fire. Then explains that Thomas Godolkin found him, Doug Brightbill, in 1996, living in his car with his cat, as he mentioned earlier, freshly fired from a Blockbuster video, trying to earn money by fixing VCRs. A lot of shoutouts to 90s technology. VCRs, VHS tapes were still going strong at the time, but DVDs had already hit the market by that point in the 90s, but they were crazy expensive and still pretty rare. I don't think I actually got my first legit DVD till like the very end of the 90s.
I'm due. From Godolkin,
When Marie tries and fails to heal his injuries, she can't because she's still weakened from healing Godolkin. Later in the episode, she actually tells him, when she's telling him off, thank you for the upgrade, thank you for the lessons, because now she's way more powerful. Part of the idea is that all superheroes, no matter how powerful they get, will eventually get tired. Even Homelander does have a ticking clock. He just has way more stamina than everyone else, will last way longer because he's so much more powerful. There are also a lot of references to that in the episode too, with Thomas Godolkin's true plan, like he reveals his actual main plan that he's had this whole time, and it's all about controlling Homelander, so don't worry, we'll get to that too, because he talks about both Odessa babies, like both Marie and Homelander. Doug then clarifies that Marie's mind has been too powerful up to this point for Godolkin to take over, explaining a huge question that people have had this entire season. Why hasn't Godolkin already taken Marie as his new meat puppet if she is so powerful? Or why hasn't he just taken over Homelander's mind if he's also the most powerful superhero? It's because they are too powerful. His abilities, as upgraded as they are, have not gotten to the point where he can do that. It's basically the same reason why Victoria Newman couldn't pop Homelander's head. There were a lot of questions when they introduced that character too, like could she pop Homelander's head? In the comics, it was always a very clear answer. No, Homelander, way too powerful for anybody else on planet Earth's powers to work on him. The only difference with the TV show now is them introducing the Ryan character, like potentially Ryan could now be as powerful as Homelander or get as powerful as Homelander, and also them saying now that Marie is meant to be just as powerful as Homelander. But both of those things, both Ryan and Marie, are TV show inventions, not from the original comics. Doug also reveals that Godolkin tried to enter Marie's mind several times when they were held captive at the prison between the events of Season 1 and Season 2, and that's why he was doing what he was doing during Season 1 with the whole test, trying to train her up, train her abilities up, and then bait her into fixing him, healing his body, so that he could then eventually upgrade his own powers through this crucible and then jump into her mind and Homelander's mind after that. That was kind of the crazy thing too. It seems like a very elaborate plan to ultimately his goal to just take over Homelander. First there was the plan to bait Marie into eventually healing his body. Then there was the idea that he had to cull the school in order to train his powers up to be powerful enough to take over Marie's body. And then that would be the test, the final test to try and take over Homelander's mind. All those things just to get to the point where he could try to take over Homelander's mind. But then at the beginning of the episode, we go to Godolkin, who's enjoying his healed body, just indulging in all the solid foods, wine, sex with Sage in his true body, things that he couldn't do all those years, just enjoying himself. Notice she does have a weird reaction, though, when he mentions condom. Makes you wonder if she's already made plans to use his genetic material to create a child for herself, or really this just has to do with them becoming more of a family unit together at Vought Tower, because that's kind of what her conversation is here, trying to get him to move in with her so they can live together like an actual couple. There are a lot of different contingencies that she comes up with later in the episode so that she can keep her main Phase 2 plan for The Boys Season 5 still on track because of what Godolkin does going off the rails. But it does seem like a lot of her scenes, especially earlier in the episode here with Godolkin, are just her trying to actually be genuine, open up with him, and her real goal this whole time has just been to create a situation where she can actually be with him, where they can be together as an actual couple. Pretty much everything that she was referencing earlier about their true plan inside the Phase 2 plan was just so they could actually live together as a couple, like be a nice, happy couple together, and that's it. Sage herself doesn't actually really care about taking over the planet or becoming some supreme being or anything like that. She really just wanted to be with Godolkin. When it actually comes to them potentially having a child, though, that does seem like it would be way harder to pull off because Compound V renders most superheroes sterile. Ryan is meant to be the first naturally born superhero. Homelander and Marie were only dosed with the Compound V as zygotes after the fertilization had occurred. So you're getting really technical about when a baby actually becomes a baby. But basically, Ryan is still meant to be the first true naturally born superhero from start to finish. Like all the processes in the chain, natural superhero. Both Marie and Homelander had already started to actually physically grow when they were dosed with Compound V. So technically, they weren't naturally born superheroes.
So vulnerable.
They make a bunch of jokes about them humping all over the Seven's conference table, having fun together, but notice how he calls her vulnerable like it's a weakness that he looks down upon. This is where you start to sense some trouble in paradise, and she kind of clocks it too, wait a minute, what are you talking about here? Just a little more of that classic Nazi scientist in him showing itself, the idea of fetishizing superiority, wanting only gods to walk the earth, not the low-level superheroes or even humans, Apocalypse style. We make all the Apocalypse references from X-Men, survival of the fittest, that is Apocalypse's whole thing. She's still very worried about Homelander reacting to Godolkin so that he won't treat Godolkin as a threat because he is so powerful, and Homelander treats pretty much anybody of any level of power as a threat. But it's a non-issue by the end of the episode because Marie pops him, so nothing to worry about there. But this was also still part of her original plan that she said that Godolkin was trying to change. He's like, my plan is better. Their original plan was to just convince Homelander that Godolkin was not a threat so they wouldn't have to deal with him. We'll actually get into this more later in the video, but the way that Godolkin talks about it, he actually blames Homelander above all other Compound V superheroes for holding back the race of superheroes in general, holding their evolution back. So he absolutely hates Homelander, but for completely different reasons that everybody else hates Homelander. Polarity then tries to take Doug back to town, who's remorseful for all the terrible stuff that Godolkin made him do, even though he says it was still him doing it. He tells him about Andre, how he loved him because Godolkin hated him so much. They have a nice bonding moment. There are a lot of Andre references from different characters in the episode too, especially with the ending. But at least here, they're mostly just having fun telling funny stories about Andre messing with Godolkin all the time, like peeing in his coffee, and things just generally seem nice until ... the other shoe drops. The new Black Noir shows up to kill them both, gotta take a beat to take a murder selfie, and then takes Polarity back to the prison, which is also near the school. The whole reason why Black Noir was after them was because of Sage. Sage is running Vought now, so she's telling them to run around and do all these different things. So she just has Black Noir on the case here to lock this down. Most of the rest of the episode is all about the battle royale inside the danger room to make all the X-Men puns possible, but they do take a couple moments in the episode out just to have character beats where they all rally together, like the Scooby Gang talks about their shared trauma and how it's brought them together and how they need to stay a group. They're stronger together than they are alone. Then Thomas Godolkin releases a message to the entire school revealing the truth about everything, that he is the real Godolkin, and basically sets up the idea that his seminar isn't so much to actually help the stronger students get even stronger and make it to the 7, which they all believe. It's actually to cull the weak so he can train himself up enough so that he can be powerful enough to jump into Marie's mind. So the bigger reveal is that the seminar is actually punishment to the students who have actually misused their powers that Godolkin really hates and just wants to get rid of. You also notice the chat on Godolkin's message here, like all the different students just commenting just the craziest stuff on here. Like some of them think he's hot, some of them are just saying all kinds of random stuff. The stuff that you would normally see in chats when people post videos like this. They start to try and warn people to not go to the seminar, even though Godolkin made it seem like it's going to give them a chance to get a leg up on everyone, like get all this fame and glory, get all this cool stuff. They start with the frat bros, who all seem like they don't really care as long as they think they have a shot at being number one. Like they just want all the cool stuff that comes with being number one.
A 1,000-year-old guy rises from the grave, takes over, and just Lebowski chill, bro?
There's a couple funny moments with Rufus using his powers against them, stops them from stopping him, using his powers to hypnotize them, so they basically black out long enough for him and the others to make it to the first round of the seminar. When it wears off, they're just standing there in the middle of all the pledges being drilled by the other frat bros. Notice they both have dongs drawn on their face. This is one of the primary reasons why you don't fall asleep in a frat house near permanent magic marker. Black Hole later admits to drawing it, some of my best work. You also notice when they start talking to Black Hole that there's a picture of the Deep behind them on the wall. It felt like they framed that there on purpose. Also because the Deep spent so much time there in office at the fraternity that his face is just everywhere all over that house. To his credit though, as weird as Black Hole has gotten this season, like the weird stuff that he's up to and just the gross way his powers work, seems like he's one of the smarter guys in that fraternity. It makes the smart choice not to go to the seminar so that he can then later use his very gross power, the butthole dimension, bringing the rest of the Scooby Gang into the danger room Trojan horse style. He basically becomes the Trojan horse with the butthole dimension. When they go to the danger room, you notice Sage is watching from overhead, just getting more and more pissed off at Godolkin, sensing that he's gone off the rails. Notice he calls out Rufus for being a sexual predator. The girl behind him also reminds everyone that he has no dong after season 1, like, in case you forgot the season 1 episodes, he ain't got nothing down there. Totally got what he deserved there, like he definitely earned that. Then calls everybody else out at the seminar as failures, the first batch that he wants to call. Basically all the weakest students, just using them as fodder to train his own powers up so that he can stop Marie. You also notice that Sage gets the call from Homelander and sends it to voicemail. He is not going to be happy about that. Like you can just picture Homelander screaming and smashing another phone on the other end of this. If it wasn't clear, the reason why he was calling her is because Homelander also saw the video that Thomas Godolkin disseminated, so that's why he's upset. Like, what is going on with Godolkin at this school? During our first montage of powers here, during this first part of the Battle Royale, there's a lot of X-Men references going on with people's abilities. There's laser eyes like Cyclops, a teleporter like Nightcrawler, somebody who can phase like Kitty Pryde. Most of the Gen V show in general is different from The Boys main series in that it draws most of its references from specific X-Men comics, as opposed to The Boys main show, which draws on a lot of more DC references too. You start to notice that as Godolkin uses his power more and more, his skin starts to bubble over like we saw in the flashbacks after he took the upgraded compound V, setting up the ending twist where he dies basically the same way that Andre died, with Marie popping his head because he had started to use his abilities too much. So also there's a pretty good chance that he would have also popped his own head too when he tried to jump into Homelander's mind. Part of the idea is they wanted his ending to feel similar to the way that Andre died, like some parallels between their deaths, which is why Marie also shouted him out. This is for Andre. You also notice after the first round is done, there are still a couple kids that are left alive, so it just sounds like he's letting people go session to session as they continue to survive. So theoretically, one of the kids, if they were to continue, could survive to like the last group and then walk out. Or maybe just crawl out because most of them look like they can't stand by the end of this. Then we notice the phaser is able to make it to the quad, tell Marie and Jordan what's happening inside the danger room, who then break up. I was never super connected to their relationship arc, but I think a lot of people who were dialed in on this did see this coming a mile away, like, oh, very clearly they're going to break up at the end of the season. Maybe this has something to do with what's happening during The Boys Season 5, and that's why they needed to break up. Annabeth then says that she doesn't want to bail on Marie and the other Scooby gang and thinks that staying with them, like going to the danger, will help prevent the visions of Marie dying from coming true, which actually does wind up being true. I think the idea is that in the original visions that she was seeing, she did leave and Marie did wind up dying.
These visions are total. Wow.
There are a couple references later in the episode where Annabeth talks about sticking with them and training her powers up too, so it sounds like she will become a more powerful precog in the future when she does come back, if she does come back. They made it seem like all the Gen V characters here, like the Scooby Gang characters, are coming back in The Boys Season 5, but that could just be some of the group, and they could just have other people referenced in the background too. Just in general, the group is staying together through The Boys Season 5. We get a bunch more info bombs here, like evil master plan villain monologuing here when Sage is arguing with Godolkin about his methods, and he reveals the real reason he's culling the herd, so to speak, is to push the limits of his own powers further, basically doing to himself what he was doing to all the kids at the prison, subjecting them to extreme stress, thinking that it would force their powers to evolve so that he can become powerful enough to control Marie, and if he can control one Odessa baby, maybe he can control the second one, Homelander. When you watch Sage react to all the stuff that he's saying, notice how she's so pissed off because of her powers. She thinks that he's lost his mind and that the plan that he's trying to come up with on the fly here, like your new plan, isn't going to work. Also because she's so dead set on keeping her main Phase 2 plan on track. Like, this will throw Phase 2 plan off. We won't be able to do anything if you try to do it this way. But a couple of the other big info bombs are the Godolkin saying that he believes Homelander is the one thing holding all superheroes on the planet from achieving their true potential, so the real goal this whole time for him has always been in controlling Homelander so that he can advance the cause of all superheroes, create gods on Earth, so to speak. Calls out the Deep for being a total degenerate, total idiot, firecracker, inferior soups, just an example of how he needs to clean house at the Seven, so to speak, in generally the world. Starts to sound a little more and more Nazi-like, and you notice as the music starts to swell up, Sage starts to get angrier and angrier. Basically the idea here, before she goes to release Polarity to let him escape, is the idea she's going to leave Godolkin to his fate. Like, she's resigned to that here in this moment. Like, oh, my relationship is dead. This isn't going to happen anymore for me. So, okay, we need to go on with the contingency plan. There are a lot of funny moments that they also interject in this too, even though it seems really, really hardcore during moments in the episode. We get that funny moment of Black Noir holding Polarity in a cell, trying to nerd out with him over the Alien movies, just being a couple bros, like dudes being dudes, talking about movies. I literally just did episodes for the Alien Earth episodes a little while ago, so it actually felt pretty close to home. Like, this is just a coincidence, though, that they're talking about alien movies here. There's another big joke where the writers of the show almost break the fourth wall. This is not a fourth wall break, but it's kind of close to that, where the writers of the show are making fun of themselves, like the writers making fun of the actual show, when he calls out the Alien movies as being an example of studio executives trying to tease sequels, but that being a big disservice to the fan base and bad storytelling, basically calling out the post-credit scenes in teasers at the end of Gen V seasons, like they're calling out their own Gen V teaser, teasing The Boys Season 5 at the end of this episode, but also calling out the Marvel movies, DC movies, big movies in general for having post-credit scenes like this. I also think this is the first example of the Gen V or the Boys main series writers making fun of themselves, although I think if they were to actually answer, they probably parodied themselves with characters on the show before, like funny moments or things the characters do, or just making fun of things that happened to them in real life. You also notice that Polarity apparently does not know that they've replaced the original Black Noir with a stand-in who can talk. Like all this time since they replaced Black Noir, he has no idea. They've kept it that secret.
So, you can talk now?
Sage then lets him loose because she's now come up with a contingency plan to stop Godolkin's plan so that her Phase 2 master plan can continue, and she knows that Polarity is very likely to go use his powers to stop him. Like, that's what she wants to happen. She also clocks that Marie has healed him, but claims it was a mistake because he was stronger when he was physically weaker, because no one is more powerful with a man nothing left to lose, and that's also meant to be a reference to Godolkin when he was still scarred and in that catatonic state. She's basically saying that Godolkin was better before he was healed. When she asks him about his wife and his son Andre dying, it's because her relationship with Godolkin just died, so something similar is happening with her on an emotional level. You can kind of tell he's a little confused by why she's talking about this, but I think that he kind of understands that there's some kind of emotional thing going on between her and Godolkin, like, oh, it's something to do with that. Then the second group comes in to be Cold in the X-Men Danger Room, but this time Black Hole is with him so that he can be their metaphorical and literal Trojan horse hiding everybody inside his butthole. When he says they're not quite ready for her yet, they need an hour or two, that's because of how long it's going to take him to learn to control her mind, but he is able to close the gap during their actual fight and jump into her mind legit. But that was not meant to be a ruse or a disguise, he actually did take over her mind briefly. There's a little callback to him not wanting her to make hand motions at the beginning of the season when she uses her powers. He actually made fun of her early this season, like, you shouldn't do that, but then calls it out as actually being cool just because of the style of it all. Like, it's not because it helps practically, it's because it looks cool. Turns the room on her, then everybody pours out of the butthole. Definitely going to need a lot of hand sanitizer and a lot of showers after this. Part of the idea here with the Trojan horse is that there's enough people in the room now that it's too many for him to control at the same time, allowing them to get the upper hand. There are a lot of very messed up, but very WTF and funny moments here during the fight, like Bushmaster using her powers on him, which Godolkin seems a little horrified by, like, what is going on here? Harper also able to siphon his powers rogue style and briefly take over his mind, which lasts for about a minute. That's what there's a timer that runs for another 50 seconds because the entire ability only lasts for about a minute before he gets his powers back. Then part of the idea here with this final boss fight is that he is meant to go into final boss form, which is Marie. Like, Marie is meant to be his final boss form, where he uses her inside her mind to bloodbend the entire room. The actress Jazz Sinclair's performance here as the Godolkin version of Marie was fun. Like, she's playing Godolkin inside Marie's body, speaking with Marie's voice, does a solid job of emulating all his speech patterns too. It's kind of funny, but really messed up and good at the same time. Then Polarity comes to save them, using his powers to block him from her mind and temporarily stop him from using his abilities. Like, there's a brief second where he can't use them, which gives Marie the opportunity to pop him like a wet balloon. Boom! R.I.P. Thomas Godolkin. When she thanks him for the level up, part of the idea is that she's even more powerful than she was a couple episodes ago. So part of the idea is they want to make it seem like she's powerful enough to take on Homelander, but we will see how they actually express that, because I definitely do not think that she's going to be the person to actually kill Homelander. He will go out in some completely different way that is totally different from the comics or what they've been foreshadowing on the show so far. Whatever you think about Homelander dying, whatever comics you have read from the original Boys series, just expect a really, really big twist on the way his character goes out. After they leave, Polarity convinces the Scooby Gang that bailing on the school together, like as a group, is their only way to survive Homelander, the rest of Vought, but he's going to stay behind to run interference on Vought so that he can help the Scooby Gang from inside the belly of the beast. Also the idea that Sage was willing and wanted him to take out Godolkin, so Sage is also probably helping him just a little bit too, as long as his plans don't interfere with her Phase 2 plans. So part of the idea at Vought, especially with Polarity and Sage running things now, is it's the devil you know. Like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Briefly, like brief alliances, I will help you, but if you come against me, then I will definitely squash you like a bug. So as long as Polarity doesn't become a big problem for Sage or like her larger Phase 2 plans, he'll be fine.
I need to stay.
So this is a suicide mission.
There's a real quick moment that Emma has with that new boyfriend that she started to have a relationship with, who's staying at the school to protect his sister. I think this is mostly for practical reasons because they're all going to The Boys main series. Like, we don't need you on The Boys season 5, so you stay here on the school on this other show. You don't come with us. There's a little time jump to later that night where they stop on the road. Marie and Annabeth have another sister bonding moment where she reminds her that she wants to stay together now, like they want to stay as sisters, and she's going to continue training her powers up too. So we'll see if Annabeth comes back during The Boys season 5 as well. Then we actually get our big Boys season 5 teaser where Starlight and A-Train show up to basically give them membership on The Boys, basically asking them to join The Boys. There are a couple other moments here where Starlight also thanks them for saving their butts. Basically the idea that Sage was actually running a ruse to draw the Boys characters out by leaking the Odessa files on purpose, and it was also part of the larger plan to get Marie to eventually heal Godolkin. So a lot of things would have gone really bad if they hadn't have killed Godolkin. There's a little joke about them merging both shows, merging Gen V in The Boys main show, and then they end the episode with 9 Inch Nails. So part of the idea is that some or all of this group will show up in The Boys season 5. I don't know if it'll be the entire Scooby Gang, but maybe most of them. Based on the way they've talked about The Boys season 5 episodes, they're going to start with Homelander still going after the Boys characters that are in the wild, bringing Soldier Boy out of cryo to go after them, and obviously building to the final confrontation with Butcher, his Compound V tumor. He still has the anti-Compound V weapon too, but I would not be surprised if that also does not work on Homelander. Like, he tries to use the anti-serum on him, but it doesn't work. And there's the idea of a Ryan versus Homelander confrontation at the ending too. I think that Ryan is going to be critical to the way that Homelander goes out in the finale, but it might not be Ryan himself who kills him. He might go out in some other twist kind of way. Everybody post all your reactions to the finale episode in the comments and your theories about The Boys season 5 crossover. Now that we made it through the Gen V Season 2 finale, they're going to be doing more stuff with The Boys Season 5. As they drop more trailers for that, I will do more videos. What the showrunner has said about Gen V Season 3 is that they do have an idea for the actual plot, but they won't do it if the ratings aren't good enough and Amazon doesn't renew it, and they will only renew it if it does well enough. So they're just kind of waiting to see how it actually does. There's a bunch of stuff that just happened that I did videos for. I also got the opportunity, weirdly enough, to interview James Gunn. It was super cool and super unexpected. So click here for that video. It's really cool. And click here for my new Boys Season 5 videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.